प्रॉब्लम प्रॉब्लम ये है कि वो लड़की है। और क्या प्रॉब्लम है? हर लड़की की लाइफ में एक उम्र आती है जब उसे रियलाइज होता है कि अब उसकी लाइफ एक ड्राइवर, एक बॉडीगार्ड, एक नौकर और एक एटीएम के बिना नहीं चल सकती। और अब हर लड़की इतना सब कुछ तो अफोर्ड कर सकती नहीं ना, तो लड़कियां ढूंढती है बॉयफ्रेंड, ट्राई पे रखती, काम पर रखती हो, काम अच्छा लगे तो नौकरी, परमानेंट शादी।
Bollywood's representation of gender and gender roles has time and again normalized the toxic cultural norms, and often people see it as the representation of daily life.
Despite expanding public awareness for children to be able to navigate their lives free of strict gender rules, mainstream media has held back from pushing the boundaries by falling back on tired gender tropes. To understand why this is a problem, we firstly need to learn what is gender, why is it important, and how does the media affect it. In understanding the development of gender, we need to draw a distinction between biological sex and gender. Biological sex refers to the sex assigned at birth based on the sex organs, whereas gender is an individual and social construct.
Mainly, there are three parts that make up a person's perception of gender. Firstly, the gender identity. This is essentially the internal sense of a person about who they are as a gendered being. One sense of being male, female, or non binary influences how people view themselves and provides a basis for their social interactions. Secondly, we have gender role standards. These are the society standards for gender centric behaviors, values, and motives. This term also includes gender stereotypes. Lastly, we have gender type behavior. This is the behavior of people that is associated with masculine and or feminine roles and their identity with these roles.
It is evident that the expectations of male and female roles vary across time and culture, which is why representation in mainstream media is so important to help normalize non stereotypical gender roles and identities.
Many researchers argue that television and movies play a major role in children's gender typing because of their accessibility, the amount of time spent watching this content, and the large number of characters that act as potential role models. The increased accessibility of particular stereotypes in Bollywood means that children will be more likely to learn and interpret their social environment using these stereotypes. Thus, it is important to understand what children learn about gender from television and movie exposure and help them unlearn and identify oppressive traits. A study to analyze gender bias in Bollywood was conducted by IBM and two Delhi based institutions. Wikipedia pages of 4,000 Hindi movies released between 1970 and 2017, extracting titles, cast information, plots, soundtracks, and posters, were analyzed along with 880 official trailers of the movies released between 2008 and 2017. The study found that despite trivializing their roles, filmmakers don't hesitate to use women as bait in luring in audiences to the theaters. While 80% of the movie plots have more male mentions than females, surprisingly, more than 50% movie posters feature actresses. Over the nearly 50-year period, males are mentioned on average 30 times per plot on Wikipedia compared to female cast members, who are only mentioned 15 times. This suggests that an actress's role is not given as much importance as the actor's. Female characters are described with surface level qualities like attractive and beautiful, whereas their male counterparts are described as strong and successful. This representation is in line with research from 2012, which found that commercial Hindi films portray the ideal woman as submissive, self sacrificing, innocent, and controlled, while the bad woman is individualistic, sexually aggressive, westernized, and not sacrificing. The data also revealed that during the introduction sequences, descriptors for males are profession driven, whereas women are associated with their physical appearances, emotional states, or their relation to a male, such as the wife of, daughter of, and so so. Now, we aren't saying that the entire industry isn't progressing in terms of strong female representation. There have been at least 30 movies in the last 3 years where females play central roles in the plot as well as in the posters. Between 2015 and 2017, females were the central characters in 12% of Hindi movies. Back in the 70s, this figure was close to 7%. However, this isn't a single gender centric problem. Masculinity hasn't evolved either over time in Bollywood. The angry young man era, beginning from the 1960s till the 1990s, has laid down the foundation of what a man should be. The evolution of male characters happened at each decade, but the notions of masculinity remained almost the same. Men have to head while saving everyone. Some movies were labeled as women centric, but the guidance was given by men. Men were shown as liberators of women, and this trend is staying till now. Don't get us started on the traditional tropes of masculinity that promote exaggerated beliefs about what it is to be a man, furthermore, of which heterosexual men are almost always the protagonists of. Certain romantic scenes that should be viewed as nothing but physical sexual harassment and the gross ignorance of consent. Such aggressive ways of sexual control and coercive sexual behavior are one of the many methods through which these men choose to express their manhood on screen. Bollywood has time and again propagated casual sexism and stalking to being normalized as a justified form of expressing interest by the heroes. This problem is also evident with family movies, wherein they reinforce gender roles in the name of a family structure, where the women characters were usually the homemakers and their lives revolved around the hero, making them lack an agency of their own. If a movie is coming under the family comedy category, usually it focuses on gendered statements or sexist jokes to provide comedic relief.
So we are seeing a certain trend in the representation of gender in Bollywood. But how does this affect our youth?
Heavier TV viewing, especially of content that features traditional gender representations, can lead to children and adolescents holding more rigid or stereotypical beliefs about what each gender can and should do. For girls, this often means that they steer their focus onto their appearance, bodies, and sexiness. For example, 6 out of 10 girls stop doing something they love during adolescence because of anxiety over their appearance, according to a global study. Limiting how children see themselves professionally hurts us all economically. As reports show, girls who are shown TV clips that feature stereotypical women behavior, that is, talking about their outfits or obsessing over boys, express less interest in STEM careers than girls who are shown no content or who are shown clips featuring female scientists. The effects on children of gendered media also propagates girls having more tolerant views of sexual harassment and the establishment of gendered behaviors in romantic and sexual relationships. However, girls aren't alone in their struggles with restrictive identity norms. One study cited shows that young men feel that society expects them to behave in stereotypical ways aggressive, dominant, always ready for sex, but that they don't always agree with these standards of manhood. Many adolescent boys are highly concerned about their weight and physique, and their anxiety is correlated with depression, binge drinking, and drug use. For children, this means drawing a narrow construction of what both femininity and masculinity are, and drawing away from softer values such as nurturance, compassion, and love. Media, and more specifically television and movies, are major forces in the gender education of the Indian youth. They provide role models of expected behavior for men and women.
To better create positive and more accurate representations of real life for children, no matter the gender, the people who create this content need to pay particular attention to children's evolving gender development. Given how much time the children spend consuming media, richer, more diverse, and non stereotypical portrayals could have a significant positive impact on children. To that end, we have compiled recommended guidelines for content creators that promote healthy gendered education. These guidelines are based on research that viewed what children are learning at different ages and the kind of content that they need to be exposed to for a healthy perception of gender. You can find the link to the guidelines in the description below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share your comments and opinions in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to Unlearn with us.